Life throws us curveballs, spin balls, and bouncers, and it keeps surprising us at every juncture in life. Contradictions and similarities both creates problems. Sometimes we see with this business venture, another business venture. Both are similar. They are not contradicting. Yet I have to make one decision which is good for me. Paradox of, let us see, if I say, I always speak the lie. How do you understand that? That's a famous paradoxical statement through the millennia. How to trust a person who says, I speak lie all the time? He's at least being truthful in saying that I am lying, but is he lying or is he truthful? Now, this is just one of the extreme examples. But when someone says, I love you, before marriage situations, or somebody who is trying to just seduce you, make use you, take advantage of you and uses all sorts of flowery language, how do you sail through such so-called I love you moments, which often results in I used you? So heart always comes. Heart gives you signals, always. Be careful. Even before your mind decides, mind becomes passionate at moments, mind remains logical and says, okay, suppose so-and-so is telling me I love you, and I go with that. What wrong can happen to me anyway? But you don't know the consequences of later. So one has to weigh it out, and heart is the only place from where we get the truest signal to do it or not to do it. See. Often we are lost between the voice of the heart, our conscience, and the logical reasoning mind. Whenever there is justifiable decision that yes, this is the right way to do, or when things are happening naturally, heart doesn't give you any signal because it is all natural. Moment something goes wrong, it raises a flag. Your heart begins to beat faster, becomes heavier, and it tells you not to do it. See. So the signals of the heart are usually for the things which are not conducive to our overall progress. Let me explain to you a bit better. Let's see, when my eyes are seeing well, ears are hearing well, my heart doesn't give me any signal because that's what it should happen. It is natural. But the moment something goes wrong, you become aware of it. Now it's time to go to a doctor. So heart gives you the signals most prominently when things are going unnatural. So paradoxically speaking, heart plays a biggest role perhaps in sailing through such apparently contradictory or apparently similar situations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In what ways does the integration of spiritual and scientific inquiry in heartfulness contribute to resolving the inherent contradictions in our understanding of the world?
See, often people ask, how do you prove that such and such a process is physiologically, biologically, neurologically and spiritually helpful. Often we have been saying it's my own personal experience. And this personal experience or certain statements, we take them with a pinch of salt. Because every person following their own path, they speak very highly about it. Heartfulness person meditating through heartfulness will say, oh wow, this is the best thing that has happened. Person following some other systems, other religions, they say, wow, this is the best thing. You cannot criticize my religion or my path. So the science comes into picture. Science means something that is verifiable, not just once, but time and again, without involving your faith, without involving your system of belief. That means we have to use instruments. When we talk of spiritual processes, we often say it is all about shifting your consciousness. Speaking of evolution, what is the purpose of life? We say it's all about evolution, but can you at a physical level evolve during the lifetime that we have? It takes millions of years for a human being to evolve at a physical level. At a spirit level or at a soul level, soul cannot evolve because it is immutable, pure in its essence. How much purity can you add to your soul? It is already pure. So at a physical level, we can only age during the lifetime we have been given. Soul need not evolve. So body cannot, soul need not. So what is in between is the consciousness that has to evolve. Say. How do you measure? What are the markers that measures the evolution of consciousness by following a particular system? Yoga Shastras, and especially Vasistha Yoga, Astavakra Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Advaita philosophies, they give you indications. But time and again, these are all belief systems. Beliefs indoctrinated by someone who has already experienced it. And Lord Jesus says, you can enter the heaven, but there is one condition. Be you like little children. How are you going to become? What is the parameter to measure that? Have I become like child? That innocence, that love, that openness. How to measure that? Now, when you meditate, yoga says you enter a state of fourth level of consciousness. Shastras talk about this state as a turiya condition. Even yogis cannot explain what this turiya condition is all about. They only say this is the fourth level of consciousness. So now we have to understand which are the first three levels of consciousness. How do you measure them? So science comes to picture. There are gadgets. They measure our frequencies in the brain, level of thinking. Consciousness, or rather thinking, affects the field of consciousness. For example, when I'm quietly sitting under a tree and reading a book, I'm so absorbed in reading a book. So what happens at that time? My mind slows down. thinking slows down. When you are sitting with your beloved and not fighting, absolutely both in silence, mind also becomes very restful. Thinking almost goes away. So at that time, these neural network activities, it at its minimum. They don't fire together so fast. But children, when they're thinking and asking one question after the another question, before you even give the answer, they're ready with another question. The neural firing at each synapse is very fast. Now, these neural fibers, when they conduct this electricity because of this firing between the synapses, this electric current produces magnetic field. That can be measured instrumentally through MRI machine, fMRI machine, EEG, what they call as electroencephalograph. So if I hook you up with these 8 or 12 or 64 probes on your head, it will tell you how fast you are thinking, how fast your consciousness is changing. Now, we have understood so far waking consciousness, where we are thinking, mind is busy. Depending upon the speed of your thinking, this electromagnetic field will change. When we are about to go to sleep, what happens? Thinking slows down a bit. In a dream state, in REM state, again, the numbers of these waves that were being produced while thinking, let us see, at that time, generally it's 20 to 40 megahertz per second. But just about to go to sleep, it slows down to 10 to 15 perhaps. And when you are in deep sleep state, it comes down to 3 to 5 hertz per second. So we have understood so far 3 levels of consciousness. When we are awake, about to go to sleep in REM state, and the third level is deep sleep state, where it is 3 to 5 hertz per second. You are totally gone, unaware of the surrounding. That is a deep sleep state. Yoga talks of 4th level of consciousness. When we are in deep state of meditation, and especially in the heartfulness way of meditation, what happens there because of this pranahuti, that transports us to a different level of consciousness, mind completely slows down. You feel absolutely relaxed, as if you are in a state of sleep. So what happens, state of sleep is where 3 to 5 hertz per second frequency is displayed on EEG. But unlike deep sleep, you're fully aware. And there is 5th level of consciousness, which is known as Turiyatit condition, which is very rare. Very, very rare state of mind, where even while working, unlike meditating, it is easy to go into that Turiya state during meditation. But what about off hours when you are not meditating? Maybe you are working, you are lecturing, you are transacting in business, or you are arguing. What happens to your mind then? Is it still in Turiya state? While doing all these things, even romancing, and if you still remain in Turiya state, that is Turiyatit state, one who has mastered. Raja Janak is said to have such a state, Turiyatit. That's why he was a king as well as a sage. Now, with these scientific instruments, now we are able to understand various levels of consciousness, see, which are all measurable. Instruments don't lie. See. Sir.
Thank you, sir. I would like to ask you a few layman questions. Probably these questions stem from my own ignorance. What sets heartfulness meditation apart from other meditation systems in terms of approach and outcomes? I'm raising this question because I have had a very, very brief and short exposure to heartfulness meditation. I believe you have that sense of calling, you have that sense of inner urgency that leads you to meditation and such practices. I'm not exposed to other systems of meditation, but there should be other systems of meditation, I believe. Could you focus on other meditation systems in terms of approach and outcomes?
It will not be wise on my part to compare other systems. But I would like to share what is so special about heartfulness way of meditation. Because we do receive people from all sorts of backgrounds, those who have tried all kinds of systems. And when they say, this has happened because of this system and this is what was lacking in the other systems, like that. So it will not be nice to highlight the defects of the other system, but I would like to highlight what is so special about this system. When I was sharing with you in the morning the definition of dhyan, di plus yan, di means wisdom, not just ordinary wisdom, but the ultimate wisdom. And yan means a vehicle or the process that lifts us to that ultimate wisdom. Vehicle is there, process is there. Like if you follow this meditation of heartfulness, it's a process. But what energizes this process is pranahuti. The fuel for this vehicle is pranahuti. What is pranahuti? Pranahuti is, I would like to put it as Adi Sakti. Adi means original. Original in what way? Adi, well understood as something that prevailed before the creation, something that brought creation into existence. That is Adi Sakti. If you can tap into that and transmit that flow, that is pranahuti, and person who is open-heartedly receiving this will be able to experience the effect of this. Another way of understanding this pranahuti is, just as we have nourishment at a physical level, we take balanced diet to maintain this physical structure. We have various schedules of exercises. What else? Next to sarira is sukshma sarira, subtle. We enrich our minds. We enrich our minds through education, interacting with our elders, teachers and professors, guides. And this is how we enrich our mind. Question remains, how are we going to enrich our soul? What is the food for the soul? It is precisely this. In one of the Upanishads, it is said, just as there is annasya annam, there is manasya manam, meaning annasya annam that nourishes annamaya kosh, manasya manam, one that nourishes manomaya and vigyanmaya kosha. Like that, pranasya pranaha, that nourishes our prana, our vital body. The soul, the causal body itself. And that changes our life. Day after day, when we receive this pranahuti, the Adi Shakti, we are able to get transported to the extent we allow our consciousness to fly. How flexible your preparedness is, how openness you are in transforming yourself. So it works with us at our level. That day you say, I don't want to meditate. Adi Shakti is not going to give you a headache. As long as we remain open-hearted and ready to learn, ready to become and be, this is what sets us apart. Second thing is cleaning. I have to give one small example. What is there to be cleaned in us? Our upbringing, the impressions we gather from the society. For one example is this: religious indoctrination that makes you hate. We have seen that often. Under the name of religion, more human beings are killed than any other cause. Forget the killing, but the amount of hatred that is there because of this. These are all indoctrinations. The way we eat, what we eat, these are also indoctrinations. The kinds of books you like, kind of jewelries you like, kinds of clothes you like, is because of our pre-exposures. Likes and dislikes. Because of these likes and dislikes, we gravitate towards certain things. One example that comes to mind is the circus elephant. When that circus elephant was in its own nature in the forest, Kerala is, I think, highest numbers of elephants in India. When they are free, they're invincible. But slowly and slowly, human beings with their intelligence tie up their legs when the elephant is just a baby and train for weeks together. And it's called what we call physiologically or biologically conditioning of the elephant. When it's tied with the iron chains with 4 legs on tree stumps, now it learns that anytime something is tied on my legs, I should not try anything further. Just stand there. Having been conditioned like that, he forgets his own strength and how strong that myself is. Now, having conditioned, now you can take this elephant to a circus and tie with a small rope on a plastic chair. He's conditioned. He has forgotten his strength. If he wanted, he can bring the entire tent down, but he has been conditioned. And such is our state also. Our lifestyle has conditioned us and made us forget our original nature. Through the process of yogic cleaning, slowly and slowly, to the extent we can tolerate our naturalness, we allow ourselves to be cleansed and expose the original conditions within us. Original condition is nothing but some adi. Again, it's fascinating to understand what samadhi is. Sam means similar to adi, again the original state. When I arrive at my original state, free from all conditioning, it's samadhi. So, these two aspects are, to me, are very fascinating in heartfulness, where we meditate in the morning and soar higher in superconscious state. Through the cleaning process in the evening, we dive deeper in our subconscious. So what happens now? In the words of Swami Vivekananda, he said, all spiritual practices, if they are true to their words, should be able to expand the consciousness of a person. We all have, he would say, he was saying this, that we all have a certain level of consciousness. Imagine this consciousness like a thin film of water, very thin film of water, which is sandwiched between two giant oceans, one Pacific and another Atlantic Ocean. Imagine the condition of that thin layer of consciousness we are playing with. We are playing with nothing. But through meditation, if we can soar higher into superconscious state and dive deeper into subconscious, now that limited thin layer of consciousness is able to expand in super and subconscious state. So in a way, it's a broadband consciousness. And it happens very naturally, without any flamboyant rituals. Rituals constricts your consciousness. You are limited by your own rituals, you are limited by your own belief system. It again and again reinforces and makes you very narrow-minded. When you read this Brahma 25, it's a beautiful. What is Brahma though? It's worth understanding what is Brahma. Brahma, if you see also the photo depicted, Hinduism is criticized for the visual graphics they have been creating over the years. But once you have the understanding of why these visuals, why such a murti, why such an idol, it is only conveying a message. Message that could not be conveyed through words. You meditate over the form and you will see why that form was created. You've seen Brahma's murti, he has 4 heads. Right? Why 4 heads? Does such person exist in this world? No. But it is only to portray that this ultimate state has a 360-degree level of consciousness. It is no longer a thin layer. It is all-encompassing consciousness that perceives everything. That is state of Brahma. If we break down this word Brahma, Bruha and Man. Man means thinking or contemplation. Bruha means expansion. So, when we as an individual contemplate and also expand my consciousness, now you have attained the state of Brahman. You are akin to Brahma. These are various states, not an individual person. Likewise, Atman, there is a statement that by Shankaracharya only, that Brahman and Atmans are same. Advaita, they are not two, they are same. But when it is like in physics, quantum theory is there, particle behaving like waves, sometimes when you are observing, and particles behaving as particles. It depends on the situation. It can behave both. Atman can behave also Brahma, provided you are not conditioned by your own observations. That's why there is an emphasis on Sakshi Bhav, witness Bhav, which is different from observation. Atman, again, like Brahman, when we split this word At and Man. At means movement. Man here is to be taken as thinking. So both are limited. Thinking is linear. Contemplation is multifaceted, where when you think of a flask, for example, you're thinking of a flask. But when you contemplate on the flask, you have to think with what it is made, at what price was paid, what material was used. You're thinking from all angles, 360 degrees. That is contemplation. Thinking is linear. Likewise, earth, meaning movement, is also linear. Point A to point B is linear. It is not expansion. So Atman can remain linear and entrapped in thinking, while Brahma can expand limitlessly and have consciousness of 360 degrees, where it can see things from all angles. That's why the four heads. So it is the visual graphics, I would say. Likewise, Ganesha also. There is no individual like Ganesha, but it is a depiction of, it's intelligent sages, they portrayed the entire human journey just by creating these visual graphics. That we are born as animal. We have animalistic tendencies, and as we evolve mentally, we become manas, manush, in true sense. And when we evolve further, we become Devi, angelic. And this Ganesha form portrays that evolution from animal level to human level to God's level. But what we do, we worship, and that's the problem. People don't understand why certain things were created. Similarly, Durga. She is portrayed as furious, riding on an animal, tiger or lion, tiger I'm supposed, I think, and her face is all black. Now, when you think of why Kali or Durga is created like this, why such a visual graphic, then we have to think, what is that signifies Durga, mother of creation? That means she existed before the creation. But what was there before the creation? When there were no planets, no stars, it's only darkness, darkness within darkness, darkness enveloped within darkness, absolute darkness. And when the first Kshobha or the first stir happened that triggered the creation of the universe, imagine the energy that must have been exploded At that moment, billions of atom bombs blowing up, that sort of energy must have come from that singularity. That moment of violence or the disturbance of that absolute balanced state, horrifying moment. And that's why Durga is portrayed as in a very destructive form. Blood oozing, displaying violence. Riding on a tiger means she is the master of destroyers. She has tamed the animal within. So we have to understand all these symbols from a different angle. Why our elders have portrayed such a thing, but unfortunately or fortunately, the tradition goes on, which is good. But one day must come when we realize why we do what we do. There is always some message, there is always some science behind it. So I love this, that people must understand and meditate over why what we do. Do it. I don't say don't do it. Worship with all your might, but not with ignorance. When youngsters ask these questions, often parents remain lip tight. They have no answers. And that's why they don't develop faith, the trust. But if we can make them experience, then all the questions will be dissolved. Any religion, all religions are good. All religions teach fundamentally love, be at peace, be in harmony, trust God, believe in God, things of that nature. But when youngster asks, why should I believe in God? I don't even know whether God exists or not. And I say to such youngsters, and I feel these youngsters are more honest than a person who says, I believe in God. But the person who believes in God is conditioned mentally from that very early childhood. And for such a person, this indoctrination, the belief, is good enough. They don't attempt anything more than that. If you ask your dad or mom and say, why do you believe in God? They say, my father taught me, my mother taught me, my pujari or priest taught me this. Our scriptures talk about presence of God, our religion, our community. But what about you? So religion is all about indoctrination. Okay. Next step should come. Transcend the religion. And you can transcend the religion beyond mere beliefs only when you experience. That inner peace we talk about, if you experience it, it is not conditional. It is not based on external circumstances or your comfort zones. But it happens despite of opposites, despite of inconveniences, when you are at peace with yourself. That experience is important. Sthita Pragya state, Lord Krishna talks of Gita so highly, but there is no way how to attain it. He doesn't prescribe that. He only says, when Arjuna asks how to perceive your presence, he says, feel me in your heart. Hridayame pashyasi. But how are you going to perceive him in your heart? Are you going to break open your heart and say, now let me have a look at it? Have you seen the photograph of Hanumanji opening his chest and showing off Rama and Krishna? This is again a visual graphics telling you, look that deity in your heart. But we take it so literally, and that is our mistake. Then we have to transcend even the experience. You have to transcend religion, experience spirituality. Having experienced, it is also limiting us. For example, when you visit a friend of yours who is ultra rich on his private island, so much of generous hospitality, you feel mesmerized by your friend's hospitality. You feel happy to have such a friend. You spend 1, 2 months, 3 months. And how long will you spend there? You enjoy the rich hospitality, you have experienced the rich hospitality, but deep down in your heart, what would you be thinking? I wish I was also as rich, isn't it? So likewise, I can have the great spiritual experiences. I can have divine experiences, but I have to become divine myself. Until then, all the experience will remain frustrating. So now we see how we are moving from orthodox beliefs to experiencing, to becoming that experience. You're no longer experiencing peace, or you're no longer loving each other. You have become peace yourself. You have become love yourself. It's not transactional or conditional to only one specific person or a family or a community. You become love yourself. And then the most beautiful state comes afterward, where you say goodbye to such becoming. You are in a state of being. And after that, it's difficult to say what happens because it's beyond words, but it is there. Something that you cannot describe. That's why, Jakabji, when you read Vedas and Upanishads, in the beginning they talk so highly, everything in a positive way. In the end, they conclude with neti, neti, neti. Means not this, not this, not this. What does it mean? It only means that ultimate state that we just talked about is beyond words. In order to compare that ultimate state with anything that is worldly, it doesn't exist. There is nothing in this world that I can compare the ultimate state with. That's why Vedas and Upanishads, they keep quiet and they say, neti, 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 see. So we have a great heritage. It has to be deciphered and understood from the very root of it. That's why I was emphasizing in the morning, they were reciting prayers and slokas. And you don't understand the meaning, what is the use? It is unabsorbed knowledge, unassimilated knowledge, only gives you diarrhea, mental diarrhea. So be careful. Slokas are great, mantras are great. Only when you have understood them, having understood them, apply it in your daily life and see how you change. Recitation will work against you because you are so happy with recitation. Oh, I did my job. It's like you swallowed the stones. How will they nourish you?
Now this reminds me of several things.
Sure.
More questions have come to my mind as I listen to you. But then, I would just, identify the issue of understanding before going forward. I remember reading an incident in Mahabharata when Vyasa Bhagavan wanted a scribe, and Ganesha was the scribe who was identified. And then I remember the condition placed before Vyasa by Ganesha. Ganesha said, I will be your scribe provided you dictate continuously. And then in return, Lord Vyasa gave a condition. Well, I don't mind dictating continuously, but you should comprehend every single thing that I dictate, only then we can proceed. So when you are narrating the issue of, men, all of us, reciting prayers, reciting shlokas without full comprehension, it leads to diarrhea. So this was a situation which was sort of overcome, and I realized that Ganesha took years of meditation, prayer and tapas to understand the meanings of certain shlokas dictated by Vyasa. But my question is connected with something Daaji said at the beginning about the analogy of the elephant. Said an elephant that is tied with strong chains, after certain time, after certain period, it would feel shackled even with minimum of chaining. Now I realize that we are all chained, we are all bound. How do we come out of this state of existence in which we are stuck, in which we are slaves, in which we are enslaved? Can it be done by individual pursuit, or should we require divine grace to struggle and achieve the truth, breaking away from all these shackles? I remember in the Christian faith, there is an over-glorification of God's grace, which says, if you are the chosen, if you have the grace of God, then you can reach the ultimate. So there are people who are unfortunate, right? They may not be the chosen people. Can you earn the status of getting chosen? How do you react to this?
It's a catch-22 situation.
Yes.
Which came first, the egg or the chicken? Innocence, simplicity, purity of the heart, that attracts grace. And you say that grace makes you pure and simple.
Yes.
So it's a catch-22. What comes first, purity or the grace? It also talks, this Mahakumbhamala is going on in Prayagraj, the holy deep. Traditions are there. They have the faith that having a dip in holy Ganges will purify all their sins incurred over the years. It's a convenient belief, but no one can clean it. Your samskars, bad samskars, good samskars. You see, you have a scientific mind, and most of you have scientific mind, especially whether you have studied science or not, we all have scientific mind. We are always trying to study the relationship between cause and effect. You see, in real life, sometimes we wonder, am I causing a new thing? Or am I undergoing the effect of the previous cause? This discrimination comes only when you meditate. Heartfulness way of practice emphasizes this cleaning process, how to clean our daily accumulations of impressions or the conditioning that happens knowingly or unknowingly. For example, the way you talk in your office is different. When you talk to your students, it's different. When you talk to your colleagues, it's different. When you reach home, it's different. We are conditioned how to behave also. There is no uniformity at all. So, conditioning, whether you want it or not, it will always happen. But there is a way how to get out of it. In heartfulness practices, we teach and enable individuals how to get rid of these impressions through a special process. In the evening we sit down, use that method and get rid of these daily impressions, daily accumulations. Also, we take sittings like meditation from a personal trainer on a weekly basis. And we have group meditation through which we get rid of all these things. Again, as I say, you don't have to believe in all these things. You go through that experience and see how lighter you become by getting rid of the burden of these impressions or the conditioning. So there is a method and it can easily happen. And you will wonder, oh, how did I get rid of such and such a habit?
I think doubts are unending. Can I ask a couple of more questions, or are you too tired? Or?
I'm not tired, but you see people are going. Do you want us to continue or stop it? Then sit peacefully.
No, this is a question that some of the students might also have in their minds. In what ways can heartfulness meditation be integrated into professional and academic settings to foster a more holistic approach to well-being and productivity? I know I have used highly materialistic terms.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. When I started meditation, it was in 1976. I was a third-year pharmacy college student. From the very first day, I was so mesmerized by this meditation. It took me in. It made me more centered, more focused. And I would say you become more creative and contemplative. As we talk through meditation, you get this 360-degree view in a very natural way. So you are able to understand things, you can think faster, understand faster. So the results will be according to your understanding only, see. So it helps. It helps a lot to our professor also. When he is about to take a lecture, and if he meditates ahead of time, he will know what to say. He will be fully programmed in teaching. Students also, when they meditate just for a few minutes before the class begins in the morning, it will have tremendous impact. They become settled, they become centered, more focused and purposeful.
Well, when we understood that about 2,000 people are going to come to our campus, we were slightly apprehensive about the discipline, about the peace, and about the success of the program that would be parallelly running along with this. And I realized that heartfulness contributes to fostering a sense of community and collective well-being. This is something that we saw today on our campus. how does the practice of heartfulness contribute to this kind of fostering a sense of community and collective well-being?
I think we all have a common goal. I would like to become better myself. They also like to feel that I individually all like to become better and better human beings. We all have a common goal, see. I would highly recommend a book to students, especially two books. One is called Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton, and one by my humble self, Wisdom Bridge. Read this. We have at length talked about the effect of environment, the surrounding. Dr. Bruce Lipton, through his scientific research, has proven that how our chromosomes, DNA, our genetic makeup is affected by our surroundings. The way we think, the kind of attitude we have, changes our genetic disposition. If you sit beside a drunkard, and if you sit beside a drunkard who is in love with God, like if you had the opportunity of sitting beside a madman called Lord Jesus, how would you feel? Totally drowned in love of God. So, association makes a big difference. And when such a congregation happens, when there is an egregore of like-minded people, it is bound to have that epigenetic effect. You see? That's why, I like to also share something very profound from this research by Bruce Lipton. He studied mothers-to-be during their pregnancy period. He studied mothers of two categories, one who were in a violent neighborhoods, where mothers-to-be they were not aware when their husband would come back home. And if at all he would come back home, he would come back with gun and sleep with the gun under the pillow, always short-tempered. And this mother-to-be, a pregnant mother, is unsure of what is happening. So she is always in a stressful mode. Cortisol level are high. And this high cortisol level creates a havoc in the body. Similarly, her blood supply is triggered by sympathetic nervous system, meaning the blood supply will be